Welcome back to Down Under EV Adventures. So we hired a petrol all-wheel drive over Christmas. And what did we think of it? Should I go back to one or should I stick with an EV? Welcome back to Down Under EV Adventures, everyone. So as you know, we spent Christmas and New Year down in Denmark. And also we did quite a bit of traveling to Albany, which is not far away. And we saw some wonderful stuff down there. You may have seen some of it. And if you subscribe to my other channel, my other travel channel, you may have also seen some of the places that we visited. So anyway, we stayed in a lovely chalet down there, and it was on the side of a hill. And it was very deceptive, the road going into it. You can see it's a gravel road here. You can have a look at it. Now the road, like I said, is deceptively steep. It was probably only about 10 degrees angle steepness driving into it, but it certainly was quite difficult to drive with a two-wheel drive vehicle on it. Now you can see some footage of it here. The road going to the property is only a few hundred meters long, and you can see where it links up here to the bitumen, and this is the bit here where most of the incline is. Now here's my first attempt driving up, and I'll let you listen in on it. There's quite a bit of wheel spin. Now it was at this point where I got stuck. Now I did try it in a couple of different modes. I tried it in snow mode and also tried it in normal and sports mode. And in the end I realized that I had to accelerate quite quickly to really get up this part, which is what you'll see now, my final attempt, where I actually just gunned it. So there was still a little bit of wheel spin as I was doing that last attempt there. Now you can see we're following behind a Mitsubishi Outlander four-wheel drive. Now the reason is because I already knew that the road into this property would be a bit slippery. The owners did warn us that a two-wheel drive might struggle on it, and we'd already pre-arranged to hire a car for the time we were there. Now that's not the only reason we decided to hire a car. The other reason was because Denmark itself has very limited charging abilities, and I didn't really want to have to charge the car every night and to worry about how many kilometers I was going to drive. Given that we were doing quite a few trips to Albany as well, it meant that we would have to be charging the car there as well nearly every day. But in the end, we decided it might be easier just to hire a petrol car. Now, when we did the booking, we thought we might get the newer Outlander, but alas, we got the older version. Now, when I say older version, believe it or not, this is a 2022 model, so it's the same vintage as the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid that I owned before I bought the Atto. Now, for those of you who've watched some of my very early episodes on the channel, you'll know that I owned a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, and mine was just 1 year early, so mine was a 2021 model. You can see some pictures of it here, so I don't know how well you can see, but mine's very similar shape, just slightly lower because of the battery pack, so the ground clearance is a little bit different to the standard model. But like I said, this car was actually manufactured in early 2022. It must have been one of the last ones before they decided to go ahead and start making the new generation Outlander, which you may or may not have seen around the place. It's a totally different shape, and of course it's a lot more modern than this generation. Anyway, let's join me in real time as we take a closer look at this car. So you can see the Outlander is definitely higher. It's quite boxy looking. It's not particularly the most aesthetic looking car there is. I think we can all agree on that. However, I do love the size of the Outlander, and this is the same vintage as my plug-in hybrid version. The only difference is this one sits about, I think it's about 20 mil higher, a couple of centimeters higher than the plug-in hybrid version because of the battery pack. So mine was a little bit lower to the ground, and it probably looked a bit sleeker because of that. You can go back and have a look if you want at some of the first episodes I did. You can see the shape of it. So yeah, if we look at size, I do love it. The roofline, you never hit your head on the roofline here, which is really good. And although it looks deceptive, when you actually sit in it, there's a lot of room. The seats are pretty comfortable. I would even venture to say the seats are a little bit more comfortable than the Atto. I do absolutely love the size of the Mitsubishis. And of course the new shape, which I was sort of hoping to get, is even bigger, I think, on the inside. Now, even though this car is only a couple of years old, this is a 2022 model, oh my god does it look old-fashioned. And I just can't believe that this is the same vintage as the car I used to own, and how quickly it's become dated. Now, of course I know this is the old generation Outlander, I do know that, but still, for a car that's only 2 years old and the last generation of a car, my goodness, the interior looks like it belongs in a car 10 or even 15 years old. It's pretty outdated. Now, I do love all the buttons. So, you know, that's one thing about non-EVs. Everything is done with old-fashioned manual switches, and very little is done through the screen, although that's improving and it depends on the model. But you can see all the air conditioning controls, and, you know, obviously the steering wheel controls are very similar. You know, and you've got some buttons there as well, which do various safety features. So, you know, the buttons are good. And it's fairly clearly set out. I don't mind an old-fashioned analog, you know, speedometer. I don't know why they don't put them on modern cars as well. They can certainly do both. They have the option of having it. And I think with bigger binnacles, that would be the case. So, you know, in terms of the switches and everything, it's fairly inoffensive. But the rest of the design, I think the new Chinese companies coming out make this look absolutely ancient, like a dinosaur. Now, I haven't mentioned the driving, but the biggest thing when you put your foot down in this is, well, just nothing happens. So it's a 2.4 litre engine, non-turbo, and it's pretty gutless. And compared to driving in the Atto 3, I couldn't believe how non-responsive it was when I put my foot down. So there you go. I do like the fact, of course, that it's an all-wheel drive, and that's the reason we got it. Now there's the switch in the middle. You can actually, I'll just start the car again. Now you can toggle between a few different settings. Now it's not the super select switch. This is only a pretty much a base model Outlander. But when you press it, you can see, I'll just zoom in so you can see that. That is the auto setting, which I've got it on. You can also lock it. So I'm assuming that means the diff is locked. And I've got no idea what eco means. What's four-wheel drive eco? It doesn't make any sense. I've left it on auto anyway. Having an all-wheel drive capability, or four-wheel drive, as you can see from that driveway earlier, and the footage of me going up, it was very handy, and that was the reason why we got it. So, you know, I'll go through the pros and cons in a second. Yeah, it's an okay car to drive. Definitely the downsides are it's totally gutless compared to previous cars that I've owned. But, you know, that's life. Okay, so the good side of it, obviously, that it's an all-wheel drive, the ground clearance, the size of it, and the space. There's a lot of space in the back here. I'll just lift the boot up. We folded the seats down because we bought a few things while we were down here. and you know, it's definitely got a lot more room. I'll put on the screen how many litres for you, but definitely more spacious than the Atto. Taking everything out and you can see that's the space. You've got these two little side things there, and if I'm not mistaken, this car is the 7-seat version, which I don't know, I think on a medium SUV, I don't think 7-seaters make a lot of sense, but there you go, some people like them, especially if you've got small kids. Particular model, no automatic tailgate, and I can tell you for the last week or so in Denmark here, a number of times we went to press the button, you soon get used to it on the Atto. So yeah, obviously higher spec models of the Outlander have an automatic boot there. Yeah, so I'll say it again, I've always loved the size of the Outlander. I think the space is great, and it looks like there might be just a smidge more leg room in the back here. Now I'm not sure if the wheelbase is slightly bigger on the Outlander. I'll have to go away and check, but it does look to me like a little bit more room in the, but yeah, the seats aren't too bad back here as well. And here's just a little look at the two cars side by side. I know the Outlander's closer, but it is, you know, a little bit bigger overall than what the Atto 3 is, and then I think that contributes to the better headroom and just more size overall. Most of this is stuff that we bought, and you can see it's taken up a fair chunk, and that's before we've even put our esky and luggage in here. So we will fit it all in, but you know, that's where the Atto 3 is a little bit falling short compared to some of the slightly larger mid-size SUVs. Just with terms of the space, we could do with just a little bit more. That is our packed Atto, ready to make a slow trip back to Kalgoorlie. We're going to take a couple of days to come back, but as you can see, there's not much room. Really packed. But I've got a few things easily accessible, the air compressor, extension cords, and down there I've also got my charger, the slow granny charger, which I might need as well. And there's the other side as well. And then we've just got overnight bags, stuff here for on the way back, and the suitcases are all packed up, we won't need them again. So yeah, could do with a little bit more space, I think. Alright, to sum up then, would I go back to a petrol car like this, given the advantages obviously of travelling, the better network of places, and you know, things like it's easier to get a car with an all-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive? Well, no, I definitely wouldn't. I mean, this car looks pretty much ancient, and the last couple of petrol cars I've driven, well, they certainly look very outdated to me. I think the future is definitely with EVs. So no, I wouldn't even go back to a plug-in hybrid. I don't really think they do the job. I think the EV network is getting better. Just unfortunate they don't have chargers down in the Denmark area. There's plenty of chargers in Albany, and had we stayed a little bit closer to Albany, I don't think we would have needed to really hire a car. But you know, there you go. That's just an example of how quickly I think they're becoming outdated. And certainly, like I said, when I put my foot down to the floor, there was just absolutely no response. The responsiveness of an EV and the performance, they really make petrol cars seem outdated. And you know, I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a performance petrol car. I think you can get a much better proposition with an EV. Alright, so that's a look at the car we hired over Christmas. I mean, it did the job for us, and it was fine for a short-term rental, but certainly nothing that I would want to own anymore long-term. Alright, anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me. As usual, we've got some terrific content coming up, so I hope you'll stick around for that. And including our new solar system that's coming, our new EV charger for the front of the house, and lots of other great stuff. So we'll see you very soon, and yeah, just be careful out there on the roads. The school will be starting again soon, so be careful of school children. Alright, and we'll leave you with Zoe. Alright, bye for now.